Vincent. State lawmaker Mai Xiong is sounding the alarm about a distressing situation for people in the Hmong community here in Southeast Michigan. She says a group of Michigan residents was recently detained by ICE in Detroit. But she says they aren't undocumented immigrants. They're refugees who came to the U.S. legally. Their reported detention has sparked alarm, confusion, and calls for accountability. Now, this is personal for Representative Xiong. She's Michigan's first Hmong American legislator and a former refugee herself. She represents Warren in Michigan's 13th House District. Today, she joins me to tell us what she knows about the situation. And the Metro contacted Detroit's ICE field office and the Detroit Police Department for more information. The Detroit Police Department said it doesn't know anything about this. We have yet, though, to hear back from ICE. Representative Xiong, welcome to the Metro.
Hi, Robyn. Thank you so much for having me.
So we're going to talk about your own personal experiences as a refugee and how that's informing your response to all of this. But first, I want to nail down some details. Could you share how and why these refugees were detained by federal immigration officials?
Sure. So as a trusted leader in the Hmong community, as you mentioned, being the only Hmong American elected here in the state of Michigan, the families members reached out to me for help with locating their family members. I'm truly devastated for the families in the community because just like them, I am a refugee. I came to this country legally at a very young age, and my father fought alongside America during the Vietnam War and secret war in Laos. And so that is why we are here today. These individuals are our neighbors, they are co-workers, they are small business owners, and they have lived here for decades. My understanding is some of them, or the majority of them, may have had a criminal past record where they got in trouble with the law and served time in our criminal justice system. And one of them, Mr. Yang, who was detained while he was at work, his case was expunged years ago, and he had been trying to get U.S. citizenship status without any success. And I believe that in the early 2000s, when he did have a deportation order, when ICE contacted the Lao government, they did not and would not accept him if he were deported back to Laos because he was not born in Laos. His parents were, and he was born in a refugee camp in Thailand. So when they contacted the Thai government said they would not accept him because he was born in a refugee camp, which they don't recognize as being a Thai citizen, and essentially it was ran by the UN with the assistance of the United States, so they considered that essentially a US base. So these individuals were perhaps stuck in limbo for decades. They built their lives, they have children, they have jobs that they've held, they're taxpayers, and many of them received letters recently from ICE, which I was given a copy of the letter from one of the family members asking them to report to a field office in Detroit on July 30th. And they reported there thinking that they were going there for a routine check-in or a court hearing, and they were quickly detained. Many of them did not have legal representation. The ones that did have legal representation, their attorneys were allowed to walk them back into a room and watch them get detained, and then had to walk out and inform their family members.
Representative Xiong, this tracks with other accounts we've heard of misleading strategies and aggressive enforcement protocol that we're seeing right now under the Trump administration. I'm wondering what government officials you've spoken with about this. I realize you have contacted a lot of different power players in the state about this.
Everyone that I have been in contact with, including Senator Slotkin and Peter's office about this, is that if these individuals are going through the immigration courts or legal proceedings, clearly as electeds, we're not allowed to intervene in that process. However, they can, with the support of family members, be able to see what the status of their cases are. I've been urging all decision makers reviewing these cases to look at the historical context and the legal realities of their circumstances, which are very similar, because the responsibility does not rely solely on these family members or the individuals to navigate such a complex and evolving system. Policies change, and what I'm finding is that our laws are not helping them. In fact, our laws are working against them. ICE and the federal government are using laws in place to detain these individuals and to take away their human rights, essentially. And I represent a very, very diverse district and a constituency base, but I hope that my constituents will understand that tearing families apart, removing taxpayers and workers from our communities and placing them in for-profit private detention centers that are funded by our taxpayer dollars, or deporting them when they've been longtime residents and workers and taxpayers of our state is not good economic policy. And while some may feel a sense of safety from billions of dollars being poured into border security and immigration control, these individuals ultimately came here lawfully as refugees, just like me, and they are not what officials label as the worst of the worst criminal illegal aliens.
I do want to talk about that, about your experience. You were born in a refugee camp, but before we get into that, one final thing I'm wondering about: have you spoken with the city of Detroit, with its leadership? Because the arrests happened in Detroit, and the Detroit police told the Metro that it doesn't know anything about these arrests.
Sure, and I don't expect our local city officials to bear the burden of this. This is certainly a federal issue that needs to be addressed by the federal government. These are laws that our congressional delegation and our U.S. senators will have to look at long term to see what they can do to improve immigration policies so that these individuals, these refugees, do not fall through the cracks. But with that said, I will say that these individuals do not just reside in Detroit, but
Right.
I've been in contact with some families that are all across Michigan, from Lapeer area to Lansing to Pontiac to Warren. These are my constituents. These are their constituents. These are my colleagues at the state level, their constituents, and I've been in contact with those individuals to help me advocate for them at the federal level. So this isn't a burden that we should put on Detroit officials or the police department. This is a federal issue, but everyone, I think, can use their voice to advocate for these individuals who are frankly scared. And some of these individuals have elderly parents, senior citizens who are unable to speak English and need help with translating and interpretation, and they are trying to navigate this complex system.
State Representative Mai Xiong, I want to now, in the last few minutes that we have, talk about your background. And again, as I mentioned, you were born in Bon Vinai refugee camp, and you were brought to the U.S. as a child refugee. I want you to paint a picture for people about your experience, what it was like, how it shaped and is shaping your response to what's happening now.
Well, my parents knew that bringing me to the United States would provide me a better opportunity, a chance at a better life than they had. Frankly, they did not want to leave their country of Laos, 50 years ago, but they were forced to because they were thrown into this war and being allies to America. They had no choice but to flee. Otherwise, they would have been persecuted. And so that is why I was born in a refugee camp in Thailand. And when I was 3, we were accepted into the United States. And I have been extremely grateful to have been given the opportunities that I have been given. And now, as a state lawmaker, I want to ensure that every single family, no matter where they came from, has the opportunities that I did, because these individuals will turn around and become contributing members of our society. when a system like this allows one group of people to be dehumanized, it sets a dangerous precedent for others. So those that may be listening and thinking that, well, this doesn't impact me, it does. It impacts all of us. It starts with the most vulnerable, and then it expands from there. And so now that I'm in a position to be able to advocate for these policies to protect people, that is what I will continue to do, to use my voice to do that. But it's not lost upon me that as a refugee, the only thing that separates me from these individuals is one thing, and it could be that I was fortunate to not have gotten in trouble with the law as a teenager or as a young person trying to navigate two very different cultures. But it was extremely difficult, and I believe that our justice system is in place to protect people and to ensure that those that do get in trouble with the law, that they are held accountable, that they go through the system, and that they are provided opportunities and pathways to citizenship. And I just hope that people will understand that as an elected leader, I bring a different perspective, but I think we can all understand that these are our neighbors, these are our children's classmates' parents, and the policies that our federal government has put in place are essentially not protecting us. If anything, they are creating more problems for our system.
State Representative Mai Xiong, she's been sounding the alarm about the reported detainment of Hmong refugees who she says entered the country legally decades ago. Representative Xiong, thank you so much for joining us on the Metro.
Thank you for having me.
The Detroit ICE field office has not responded to our request for comment on this issue. The Detroit Police Department tells the Metro they don't have any information on these cases. Coming up, a music and arts festival launched in Ghana makes its U.S. debut in Detroit next week. We'll talk with the organizers to find out how Detroit culture will be represented. That's after the news from NPR and WDET. Stay with us. This is WDET-FM, Detroit Public Radio, your connection to news, music, and conversation.